Hey guys, I am finally back with a new Plan With Me video, this time for the month of May, and if you've already had the chance to set up, don't worry because you can still use this theme or set up for any of the summer months. Before we get started, I want to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by Squarespace, and I will talk more about them at the end of the video. Alright, so let's get started. For the cover page, I'm going to draw a bunch of daisies and I'm going to be showing you a quick tutorial so that you can keep up with me and recreate them in your own bullet journals. So I'm starting off with a circle and then drawing a bunch of tiny circles inside to give it some texture. You can also just add random scribbles inside or fill it with color, but either way, it does not have to be perfect. After that, I'm adding a bunch of long and skinny petals all around the circle, and for some of the daisies you'll see that I'm going to be making some of the petals shorter than the others, just to make it look like the flowers are at different angles. To add a bit more detail, I am drawing some lines in the middle of each petal, and I'm holding my pen very loosely and almost letting my hand shake a bit because I don't want the lines to be perfectly straight or continuous. So I'm just going to repeat this whole process for all of the daisies, and while you follow along, I quickly want to tell you guys, for those who don't know, that I am doing giveaways before every single monthly Plan With Me video, where you guys have to guess the theme of the month, and then I choose a random winner from those who guess it right. So this is just my small way of saying thank you and giving back to you guys. So if you want to enter, just go to the community tab on my channel and you'll see all the giveaway posts there. So back to the cover page, you can see that I'm drawing a large square behind the flowers with my Tombow dual brush pen because I thought it would just make the flowers stand out against the background. And actually the only two writing supplies that I'll be using for this whole setup are the Fineliner and that brush pen. I felt like the flowers still needed to stand out a bit more, so I outlined them, but this time with a thicker fineliner. I think the one that I used initially was dying out on me, so that's why I didn't get the darkness that I wanted. And then, of course, I'm drawing the stems for the flowers. Finally, I added the title in the middle of the square, and then I finished off the drawing with some stars. Moving on to my monthly spread, I am first going to draw out the boxes for the calendar because this way I can figure out where the title will fit and where I could add some decorations and things like that later on. So usually I like to start off with kind of like the main structure of the spreads and then add the rest afterwards. Oh yeah, and you're gonna see me do a lot of these geometric shapes with daisies around them. I just really like the way that they pop out against the yellow background. I've kind of been on the lookout for changing up my monthly layout because most of the time I don't need as much space as I have on here, but then if I do the vertical layouts where you have the dates going down the page, I feel like there's not enough space, and I do actually prefer to see the month in a calendar format. So I might be switching it up in the future if I get any ideas, but for now I'm just doing what I'm used to. Flipping over to my master to-do list, and I'm going to keep the spread very minimal as usual, but I did want to switch up the layout a bit this month, so I actually drew the title on the right page and again decorated with some daisies to keep it consistent with the theme. And I drew the title quite low on the page because I'm actually going to be traveling for the first couple of weeks at the beginning of the month, so I'm not going to need as much space for my monthly tasks. And usually I don't fill up 2 pages anyways, so I think this is going to work. Plus, I've really been liking the look of having more blank space on my spreads. So the fact that I'm going to be traveling, of course, has had an impact on the way that I set up this month. And that is because I'm going to try to take that opportunity to take some time for myself. So instead of my regular type of productivity goals and habits, I wanted to do something a bit different. So my goals are actually just pretty much self-care things that would make me happy and that I want to spend more time on during the month of May, and especially during my travels. So on the left page, I drew a little jar with some flowers in it, and you can probably tell that I was in a creative mood because I drew a lot more than I usually do in my monthly setups. But actually one of my goals this month is to draw more, so there I go. And then on the other page, I drew a small jar for every goal, and I think I'm going to fill in the jars as I spend time on those activities so that hopefully they'll be all filled in at the end of the month. I feel like sometimes we can bring ourselves down so much if we're not being 100% productive all the time. But on the other hand, if you think about it, when's the last time you did something for yourself without feeling any guilt that maybe you could be doing something more productive instead? And if the answer is a long time, then you probably need a break, even if it's just a mental break from bringing yourself down. So anyways, filling in those little jars will be my main focus this month. Continuing with that theme, I did call this next spread a habit tracker, but it's actually more targeted towards self-care this month. The habits that I usually track are mostly related to productivity, and I just wanted to change it up a bit, so I completely switched out the habits. So they're just little things that would make me happy or that would inspire me. And as I was making the spread, I was thinking that if we did these kind of trackers more often and realized how empty they'd probably be most of the time, then I think we would catch ourselves before we became drained of energy or inspiration. Usually for my expense tracker, I need 2 pages because I have a lot of categories that I like to track, and I also have a budget review section and stuff like that. But like I said, this month I wanted to take it a bit easier, but I still wanted a place to write down certain purchases. I actually don't keep up with my expense tracker on a daily basis because I can always backtrack my purchases from my phone, but I do find it helpful to have some of the more important stuff written down, especially if it's bigger purchases or things like that. You guys already know about my video checklist spread. I did change it up a bit just because I didn't know how I wanted to section it just yet, but most likely I'm just gonna have 2 columns on each page for all of my tasks. So you can use the spread for any big project that requires a bunch of smaller tasks that maybe don't fit into your weeklies or anywhere else, and I think it's really helpful to have a dedicated space to plan it all out. Finally, I am moving to my first weekly spread, and while you watch me set it up, I do want to briefly talk about the notebook that I'm using in case any of you are wondering about the change. So I do still use my traveler's notebook system that I made myself, but for the monthly inserts, I wanted something with more pages, so I decided to try this one out. I'm having mixed feelings about this particular notebook. It's from a company called Karst, and the pages are actually made of stone instead of paper. I do love how smooth the pages are, but the downside is that they kind of react strangely to markers, and I've noticed that they kind of change color after a while. And also all the drawing supplies dry much slower, so you have to be careful not to smudge the ink. But anyways, I am giving it a go this month to see how I like it, and to be honest, I'm still looking for that perfect notebook. But anyways, I'm just finishing up my weekly spread now, which means the setup is complete. Before we get to the final flip through, I'd like to thank Squarespace once again for sponsoring today's video. They are the place to go for anyone looking to create a beautiful website or online store. Partnering with them was really cool for me because I actually used Squarespace years and years ago when I created my architectural portfolio, and it was perfect for me because I needed something easy to use, especially since I had literally no experience in web design or anything like that. They have tons of beautiful templates to choose from that you can customize, and they also have incredible customer support. So if you're interested, make sure you go to squarespace.com/mylifeinabullet to get your free trial and also 10% off your first purchase. Alright you guys, so here is the final flip through of this month's setup. I really hope you enjoyed this video and got some inspiration, and as always, if you decide to recreate any of these spreads, please make sure to tag me on Instagram because I always love seeing your recreations. Alright, so with that said, I wish you a happy May, take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys!